Sup Shredders, my name is Logan, aka Spiderhands, and welcome to an SP Reacts, where today we're going to be checking out a track from an act named Yonatron titled Abyss. And if we switch over to here, I think this is the second track that I've listened to from Yonatron. Previous track that I listened to from them was Kamala Harris, and now I've got an Abyss, so we're going to listen through it from start till finish, and we're going to hear what we think. Let's go, let's do it. This is incredibly heavy. This is very different to the previous track that I heard. I mean, it's professional grade. The rhyme scheme is interesting. I'm not necessarily sure if it's following... I mean, I like the lyricism. I like the story that's being told. Like, individually, it's interesting. It's kind of like we've made a novel into a song we're singing, you know. I mean, it is very... It sounds great. I like the clean vocals with the effects on them. It's a really interesting track. Okay, that was a really interesting experience. We're going to talk about this track more, though, in the conclusion. Because welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Yonatron titled Abyss. Now, what do I think the song is about? I think it's talking about this kind of apocalyptic hellscape where we see like the horizon's drenched in blood and a second feels like an eternity of torment. And you just get the feeling that it's basically about people's thoughts and opinions and experiences with life just absolutely the world just going to hell in a handbasket, effectively. It's so I feel like that's my interpretation of the track. in terms of things I appreciate about the song, I feel like there's a nice contrast between the growled vocals and the different harmonized kind of growls and bits of vocal fry there, with what's going on with the cleaner elements there, with the vocal tuning and stuff like that. I feel like those are well done. You know, like they suit the distorted guitars, the almost sort of synthy kind of key elements there, the bass and the frenetic drums. You know, all those kind of come together in a way which is satisfying, and it makes sense for the genre as well. In addition to that, I just think the actual instrumentation is incredibly compelling. Like all the different sort of either the down-tuned kind of chugged guitar parts, maybe some 7 or 8 strings there working with power chords, or kind of spinning between different sort of like picked parts, or even some sort of pseudo leads in there to go in amongst the the chords and the harmony parts and the vocals. You got the keys doing arpeggios going up and down the parts. You know, we have like filtering of certain instruments as well to make them either stand out or kind of come back a bit in the mix. You know, so that's smart. We also have some interesting stuff going on with the actual drums, like all the different sort of double kick and snare and cymbal patterns and stuff like that are really cool, and the bass line sort of strong in the low end there. And there's this interesting kind of like sense of like sort of like tension within the track in general, with the way that everything is very kind of it's very heavy. Like there's a nice sort of like overall layering and spread of the different sort of resonances across the frequency spectrum from a production, but also from a compositional standpoint. I think finally, it's a song where I just kind of appreciate that they're trying to do something a little bit different. Like it can be very sort of tempting to stick with a verse chorus structure here. I don't necessarily think it works in every situation, but for this one, it's almost like this was through composed, and we'd written a story and we were kind of melding those lyrics into like lines or stanzas to sort of suit different riffs or different chord ideas there. For a through composed piece at 3 minutes 29, I think it works quite well. There might have been parts that were repeated, but it's just a lyrics change. So I don't know if I necessarily consider that to be more sort of like contemporary structure going back to a hook line. But, you know, I'm not going to be gatekeeper about it. It's just an interesting design choice there. But then that also kind of is a double-edged sword. So for me, in terms of feedback on this track, I kind of want an anchor point, something to kind of come back to. It's like we go through the story from start to finish, we hear everything, but there was just a lot of information to absorb from everything, even if I got the point of it. So I feel like if you were to sort of have this as a release and the expectation was that people were going to, like, for example, if you're playing this live and you had an audience, I don't know if they'd necessarily... How do I say this? It's like, you know how tracks have their choruses and then like people remember those lines and they sing along to it. I don't know if this necessarily be it, because the variety of different sort of like ways. I could simply be misinterpreting things and there could have been repetitions of different lines and stanzas throughout, but I just don't know with this one. It's a song where, again, I feel like going for a novel approach or through composed is fine. But then also it's about sort of like the accessibility to the actual listener and sort of like being able to absorb everything on the first take. You could argue that that is also allowing for someone to have more, like re-listenable, like you can have more value like that. But I also, that's just me being transparent. So ultimately, I think it was a well-performed and produced track, which made sense within the context of it. It was a lot, but I think it was still a really interesting turn for Yonatron from what I've heard so far, and that's effectively my review of this track from an act named Yonatron titled Abyss. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show us some love via the various social medias and the YouTube page, and stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as you need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world, and I will catch you in the next SP Reacts. Spiderhands out.